Hi everyone, we're back with Jackie and Euan on today's video. Guys, 358 Celtic appearances between the two of you, 15 Celtic goals between the two of you. Great
Very
stuff,
proud.
great to have you on. I've no idea where that intro was going, I just fancied mixing up a little bit. Happy St Patrick's Day to all of our viewers in Ireland or just generally anywhere in the world. Who is our favourite Patrick ever at Celtic? We've got Bonner, McCourt, Roberts, Klimala. I think you wanted to throw in Twardzik as well. Euan, have you got a wee answer there?
It's got to be Schwartzik for the impact that he had, him and his brother. I think they're playing in the third or fourth tier German football now, so it just shows you the progression that's available. Exciting.
Jackie, favourite Patrick?
Probably Packy's the only one I played with. Packy Bonner when I first came into the club. Probably Packy.
Good keeper, good teammate.
It was obviously at the tail end of that. It was more of the coaching side when I came in '95. But yeah, he had a great career with Ireland as well, World Cups and the saves he done. So yeah, it was. I didn't play with the rest of them. The Twardziks I know you're talking about. They've been around.
I remember one of them came on. I don't know if it was Patrick or Philip came on in a friendly against Wolves. I think his debut, and scored an own goal within 10 minutes, so that wasn't a great debut. But yeah, we'll move on, guys. We'll chat about Monday night first of all, Jackie. As we said a few weeks ago when the draw came out, obviously two of your kind of former sides, was certainly a former side you managed. I know you were on pundit duties afterwards on Sportsy, and I heard some of you on there.
I thought they were really comfortable in the game. Dundee United never could cause them any problems defensively. And again, like we've said for many a game recently, teams coming in to stop and try and nullify and back fives and everything else. So they're having to deal with that, and the pitches aren't as great. And I thought I know it was two deflections, but I thought it was still a comfortable 3-0, even though they were fortunate with the goals. It could have been, should have had another goal, which was chopped off as well.
When the referee didn't know the rules, is that the one you're chatting about?
Yeah.
I'm probably being a bit harsh saying bad because there was a bit of debate going on in the channel. I didn't think Celtic were great on Monday, but it's probably a huge testament to the team that we won 3-0. Euan, what was your take on the game?
Yeah, no, I thought we were perfectly comfortable. I thought the second half was really accomplished. I don't think Dundee United really had anything to throw at us. I will say, a couple of their players had decent performances. I thought Kieran Freeman did pretty well against Dyson Maida, who I would say had one of his better games for Celtic thus far. No, I thought we were putting. I don't think we really got out of second gear, to be honest. Just the kind of clinical performance you need to get through in the Scottish Cup. So no, I've got no complaints. But then my standards may be lower. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what we'll say. Giakoumakis, I want to chat about him because he got a couple of goals again, Jackie. That's 9 he scored for Celtic. I don't know if you're aware of this. If you watch the channel at all, you will be. All of them have been one-touch finishes, every single one of them. Now, Paul Byers on Twitter pointed out to me that Henrik Larsson's first 9 for Celtic were all one-touch finishes. Chris Sutton's first 11 were all one-touch finishes. But they seem to be the kind of outliers because John Hartson, Odsonne Edouard, Lee Griffiths, Moussa Dembele, Scott McDonald, Gary Hooper, Jan Verigura Hesselink all had early goals with touches. So what Giakoumakis is doing is quite interesting. I think it probably tells us that he's quite an instinctive finisher, the most instinctive finisher we've had in a wee while, and that he's far better when he's not got time to think. Is he a bit of a kind of old school striker, Jackie, the kind of striker you would have had in your team?
I think he's different from the rest. I quite like him. He's got a physical presence. I get what you're saying there. I think he's more instinctive than actually. He's a few chances where you think about it.
Yeah.
One that sprang to mind was Alloa game. He took an extra touch and the defenders got back. So, in the Alloa game he had a really good finish as well, near post area. So I think now when he's just doing it there without actually thinking about it, I think he's better. But I think he's improving. I don't think you go through all his goals, the 9 of them. I don't think a lot of them have been classic goals, but there's been a couple of good ones in there. But I think they've been very important ones.
Yeah, the two at Tannadice were incredibly scrappy. Do we like seeing goals like that scored, Euan? Do you get satisfaction from that?
Yeah, because it always makes me think of, title races we've had in the past and games where we've sneaked through and it's been sort of winning ugly and all those kind of other cliches. But I think he's exactly the kind of striker that we needed. I think a big problem from last season was that we kind of relied on Odsonne Edouard to be all kinds of striker. And while his goal return was pretty good, it just didn't really work to rely on him so heavily. So the fact that you've got, Giakoumakis amongst guys like Maida and guys like Kyogo, it just is more that sort of battering ram kind of striker that we needed. And if he keeps scoring, it doesn't matter how scrappy the goals are. It doesn't matter if they're technically own goals even. Like, I'll allow it. It's absolutely fine. So yeah, I think he's given us an extra dimension this season. And after the frustrating 6 months he had after he joined Celtic, it's really great seeing him get into a run of form. And yeah, I like the guy a lot.
Yeah, just finishing off the kind of first touch thing, Jackie. 15 goals you scored for Celtic, is that right?
I actually thought it was 13.
I've maybe credited you.
Very nice of you.
I'll be honest. There's a YouTube compilation of all of your Celtic goals, and I was counting them up in my head, and I thought I got 15. So it's pretty bad if I've missed out 2. Anyway, I counted 10 first touch finishes and 5 where you took a touch prior to finishing. Your first 3 were all first touch finishes, all absolute crackers as well. The one at Hibs, your first game, was a belter. You quite enjoyed playing against Hibs, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. That seemed to be the team I scored most against because they let me go as a young kid, and I wanted to, rub it in a little bit and get my revenge for not taking me as a kid. Yeah, I actually scored 2 at Easter Road, 2 scrappy ones.
Yeah.
One just kind of very much like the Giakoumakis one the other night. You weren't quite sure if I'd got it or not, but yeah, it's always nice to score, especially when it's not expected.
Right, we'll stop reminiscing then, we'll move on and we'll chat about what's to come for this Celtic team, because we know who we're going to face in the semi-finals, Rangers, and we know when the match is going to take place. It's Easter Sunday, guys, the 17th of April, with a 2 p.m. kick-off, which is pretty tasty. What do we make about the prospect of Celtic facing Rangers 3 times in April, Euan? Be honest, does it excite you? Does it scare you a little bit?
I go through my normal routine, which is seeing the fixtures, being excited about it, and then in the days preceding the games get extremely tense. That's kind of my routine. I've stuck by it all these years, so I'm not changing now. But no, I'm all for it. I'm absolutely all for it because, who in their right mind as a Celtic supporter wouldn't want to take them on 3 times in 1 month, especially when the momentum's with us, especially when the last game was such a resounding thumping that, it's... I think we're all coming away going like, right, when do we play that next? Because it was such a good feeling. So no, I'm absolutely all for it. But if you ask me again the day before each game, I'll just be a shuddering wreck, really. So that's the script. That's what I'm going with.
That's all right. Jackie, 1 at Celtic Park, 1 at Ibrox, 1 at Hampden. Is it fair to say that these 3 matches are probably going to determine whether we win the treble or not?
Yeah, I do. I think absolutely. I think. Obviously, if you win the 3, then you would expect to win the treble, but it won't be easy. They'll get a boost from the European campaign. Still in Europe, expecting to get through this tie and into the next round, so they'll get a lift from that. I think they get a big lift from the getting past Dortmund. Especially after the last derby where I thought we won comfortably. So no, it won't be easy, but. I think if you rewind till this time last year, you would take this all day to be where the team is just now, with all to play for. You're going into the game as well with confidence and momentum.
I mean, we should be quite positive. Celtic are on a 30-game unbeaten domestic run at the moment. I don't really know why more people aren't chatting about that. You barely hear it mentioned by anyone, and it's an incredible run, even more so when you consider, as Jackie says, where we were 12 months ago, the fact that this is basically a newly formed team. I mean, every time we play, there's at least 6 or 7 players that we signed in the summer, and yet we've gone on this incredible run when you consider, last year we could barely go like 3 or 4 games without losing a match, Euan.
Yeah, I actually I spoke about that this morning on 67hailhail.com, just kind of how no one's really that fussed about this 30-game unbeaten streak in domestically odd. It's incredible. I mean, the last thing you would have expected when the season started, and knowing that the remit Ange Postecoglou had, all these players that still needed to gel, which was again the same kind of scenario in January when we brought in new players. To go 30 games unbeaten domestically, it's ridiculous. It's an incredible achievement. And we talk about, before Ange Postecoglou joined Celtic, and we were talking about him in the context of his career, what really set him apart in the sort of Australian history books, at least, was a 36-game unbeaten run with Brisbane Roar. If he does that here, like the standards, obviously, it's so different. But if he does go 36 games unbeaten, we'll probably still be like, all right, but what's the next thing? And quite rightly, it's ridiculous, really, that we're talking about being on just before the summit of a treble, considering everything that's happened to Celtic this season. It's just incredible. So. But then again, Ange Postecoglou doesn't seem the type to really dwell on his achievements, so I doubt he's saying too much about it either. But it's remarkable, genuinely.
I don't think the players or Ange, as you said, will be bothered about that, about getting the attention of. They'll just want to keep it going. They just look to the next game, and the Rangers game will be massive. Have they only played them a wee bit more, then it would be totally different, altogether. I think coming the end of the season, it's going to be interesting to see what really happens, and if we do get the credit, because it is a incredible run that they're on. But the amount of late goals that they've scored, having that mentality, look back in some of the games that you thought they were going to struggle in. So, no, I think they should get a good bit of credit for that.
Yeah, and just overall, how do we feel Celtic are set up for this period? We've obviously got an international break coming up. Growing murmurings, fair to say, that Kyogo may not be too far away. People are marking the Easter Sunday down for the resurrection of Kyogo against Rangers. We'll see if that happens. We should be quite happy, shouldn't we? We should be quite content and dare I say, quite relaxed with where the team is at the moment, Euan.
This wasn't the best place it's been all season. And that's kind of another thing that's being forgotten about. I mean, on Monday, for example, we beat Dundee United 3-0 with our three most prolific players. Jota and Abada were out. Kyogo's obviously still out. We're able to rotate that squad and still win with, consummate ease. So, you've got this international break coming up. That's going to be really important in terms of rest for a couple of players. But by the time that international break ends, I think it'd be hard to argue that this Celtic squad at that moment wouldn't be the strongest they've been all season. And that's testament to really, really good squad building and planning and foresight. And you have to say on all kind of three categories, Ange Postecoglou's got it right. So, no, I think there's so much to be excited about.
Jackie, take us into the mindset of a player during times like this when you're going for a title. Last week, Scott McDonald said he didn't reckon that complacency or taking your eye off the ball would be an issue for this Celtic team. What do you think? Yeah,
I don't think so. I think a lot of the time it stems from the manager and how he approaches it. From experience here with different managers we won the league with, especially sort of Martin or Vim, it was, you didn't dwell on the last game, or you focus on the next one, and you just kind of build that up, and before you know it, it's 10 games, 15 games, so the countdown's on. You only get so many games left, 8 games, whatever, and how crucial they are. But they'll just look to the next one, Ross County at the weekend, make sure we go and do the job at that, and then they'll look to the next one after that. I know it's the old cliches, but that as a player, that's what you do, because you can't look too far ahead. You can't go, I've got 3 games against Rangers coming up. It's there, but there's no point in getting to that, and you've took your foot off it and lost a couple of points at home to Ross County.
Obviously, Jackie, you've been a captain at Celtic, and you've been a sort of veteran dressing room presence kind of before that as well. What's it like do you ever get a sense that players around you are kind of resting on their laurels a wee bit and are kind of taking achievements that have kind of already happened? So, for example, this unbeaten run that we're on, have you ever kind of noticed players getting a wee bit too relaxed when there's such a grueling schedule ahead? And what do you say to them to get them, get them back in the right mindset?
To be honest, I've never witnessed it as a player. I think sometimes it's more, you're having to calm them down because they're that hyped up with it, and they just look for next. They're just desperate to achieve and to win. But again, like at Celtic, every game was massive, because even if it was a Rangers game or there, you had to win. You had to win it, and you knew a draw or could get a result next week, or we can get a draw there or something. That was not in the mindset. It was win, and find a way to win every game. So, I think it would be difficult to get complacent or look too far ahead of things.
Especially when there's not the kind of European distraction as well, and you've only got to focus in the league. I think that's why I feel so relaxed about this Celtic team, because I feel that every obstacle that's come before them over the last few months, with the one exception of Bodo Glimt, they've overcome it. They've found a way even when they've not been at their best, and I feel the same way about what's to come. Ross County on Saturday, I think they're going to be a really tough game. They're one of the form sides in the league over a long period of time. But I think we'll find a way, even if that game is goalless or even if we lose an early goal, I just have belief that this team won't panic and they'll find a way to win the game. The games against Rangers are going to be, totally different. I think the game at Ibrox, as much as we probably only need a point, I think that's going to be really difficult to get, because, you watch them at home in Europe, which is probably the closest thing to a derby in terms of the opposition coming out and actually playing. And Rangers look really good at home in Europe. So I think it's going to be a really, really tough place for us to go there. But even if, that doesn't go our way, we've still got the derby at Celtic Park where you would back us to win that. So I'm quite relaxed, but I just want to just keep winning, tick Saturday off, then we've only got 7 games to go, and then you kind of move closer and closer to the finish line. As I say, Saturday, Ross County, we're 8 games from the finish. It's a game we would expect Celtic to win, but Ross County are a good side. They're actually the 3rd best team in the country over the last 20 games. They've taken 33 points from their last 20, which is 3 more than Hearts. We know about Regan Charles-Cook, but even a player like Charles Hungbo has scored 3 in his last 3 and has been a brilliant signing for them. Jackie, you were at the game the last time we played them in Dingwall. That was tough that night, and County have probably improved a lot since then.
Yeah, they have. I think they do carry a threat as well. I think they will have a goal and be organised. Set pieces, obviously, they scored that night with set piece as well. So, no, it won't be an easy game. I'm sure Ange will be saying that to the players. I think the good thing is that they will come out as well, and have a goal, which, from a spectator's point of view, you want to see an open game and just hope, sitting in and hoping it's a low score line, or we'll take 2 today and just go home. I do think Malky will have a goal, which makes it a better match as well.
I think they're one of the top scorers in the league, Euan, so they've probably got too much firepower in their team not to come and have a go. So that should suit us, shouldn't it? A bit of space in behind, hopefully.
Yeah, like you say, they've been one of the better performing teams in the league. They seem to have built this real confidence going forward as well. I think Charles Cook, he's the top scorer in a Premiership in general. He's been an excellent signing. You have to say the recruitment there has been excellent. They've filled gaps where they've needed, but they've also added real quality as well. So I think it'll be quite a different game to the last 2. I think obviously, they kept us to the 96 and a bit minute up in Dingwall. I don't think it'll be as dramatic as that necessarily, but I do think they carry a real threat. And we've kind of looked at all sort of the fixtures that are happening in the near future, and maybe I don't want to say undervalued this Ross County game a wee bit, but I think we've maybe.
I've certainly not.
No, I know you haven't. Believe me, I'm not talking about you. I know your heart's in the right place, but they're a tricky club to come up against, especially in this kind of run of form. It's such a bizarre Scottish Premiership season as well. It's been really strange, but yeah, very good team. I fully expect them to have a go, and if Celtic can exploit that space in behind, if they do try to advance forward with it, then happy days. But it'll be a battle, I think.
The game's been sold out for, I think, a couple of weeks, Jackie. With it being a Saturday 3 p.m, and given how rare those are supporting Celtic, I think it's our first one since mid-January. And given how close we are to the end of the season, I would expect it to be pretty full on Saturday, like properly full. That could help the team, but also there's been a lot of anxiety, hasn't there, in recent games? The St Mirren game, it was 0-0 in the first half, and people were kind of losing the plot a little bit. it probably is quite important that the Celtic support try and stay with the team as much as possible on Saturday, even if we're struggling a little bit. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it was evident in the last few games, though. Even the Dundee United game, nobody left. It didn't turn around after 70 minutes and all right, this is not our game today. They stayed right to the end because they know that the team's capable of getting goals late on. And they have that confidence in the team as well. I think they get a bit anxious because of the frustration at times there, because they're just desperate to win and get the game over and done with and go on to the next one. But patience is obviously key to it, is what I'm just saying to the players. Just believing in what they're doing and how they're going about it. And you've seen it in the last number of games. We're getting late goals. Just keep persevering, and it happens.
Did that frustrate you when you were playing and you heard moaning coming after like 25 minutes? How do you deal with that as a player?
No, because as a player, I wouldn't say it would go into a shell. For me, it was more, what it was, a few moans and groans, because the fans are a good judge to see how the game's going as well. Although it maybe sound negative, sometimes it can go, right, come on, let's get at them. We know the importance of that. It's not, I wouldn't say it was something bad against the team. It's just a frustration there, because they know that they're so much better than what maybe they're showing at that point, and just desperate for the team to do well. It's different if they're sitting booing every time they get the ball. But there's none of that. It's more just a frustration at how it's going.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it, Euan, that you can actually use that kind of frustration from the support as a positive to almost kind of gee you on and remind you how much is at stake.
Yeah, and I'd imagine that, obviously, you did talk about our shared appearances for Celtic earlier on, but I have less experience than Jackie in this particular topic. But I would imagine that the fans are kind of mirroring what the manager is saying a lot of the time anyway. If there's moans and groans, it's probably about, a lack of intensity or a perceived lack of sharpness. And I imagine that, whoever your manager is, they're probably going on at you about the same sort of thing. So I can't imagine there's too much crossover in terms of the message there. But I've never booed Jackie McNamara. I'll say that now.
You're too young.
No, I'm 30, mate. I'm part of the club of looking younger than I actually am. But yeah, it's I get why people get impatient. I get why supporters can get impatient. But this squad has a quality, and whatever starting lineup and subs and names, we've got the quality to overcome teams with different kinds of threats. So it's always got to be about patience. So.
Yeah, I think that's how I feel. So we're looking forward to Saturday against Ross County. I think we're all going to the game, so it should be good. Just before we go, Jackie, I wanted to get your thoughts on Anthony Ralston's exclusion from the Scotland squad again. Nathan Patterson and Stephen O'Donnell, who I know you know well, both chosen ahead of him. Do you think Ralston's a little unfortunate not to be in the squad, given how well he's played for Celtic?
Yeah, very. I think he's unfortunate not to be starting for Celtic as well. I think he's had a good season. Every time he's played, he's done well. So no, I think, as I said, I think he'll be a little bit frustrated that he's not been picked again. But I've been there myself many a time with the national team, so I can relate to maybe how he's feeling.
And how do you deal with that? Do you just keep playing for Celtic?
Yeah, you just got to keep plugging away and. It's there, but there's nothing you can do, or you can't go out and tell everybody that you should be playing. It's up to the manager to pick the team and pick who's. All you can do is continue to do well when he's called upon. Obviously, maybe a little bit frustrated that he's not started. A few of the games recently. He's brought Juranovic back in and he moved Taylor back over to left back, but. Yeah, again, just has to be patient and he can only control certain things.
Yeah, well, I think if he keeps playing like he has been for Celtic, he'll get his chance. Hopefully World Cup, maybe end of the year, we could see Anthony Ralston there. Just before we go, guys, something I was looking at last night, it's looking increasingly likely that the Champions League winners will already have qualified through their league. Obviously, that means that this year's Scottish Premiership champions would automatically make the group stage. Villarreal, Atletico Madrid, Benfica are the only real threats to stop that happening, and they are the 3 outsiders left in the Champions League, behind the 5 main contenders: Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. So basically, if any of those 5 win it, which you would probably expect, Celtic could qualify for the group stage automatically by winning the league. So it's all coming together, guys. Thanks once again for your time. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We're back tomorrow with a preview to Ross County. Speak to you then.